Don't start an AI company, start a company. And then if you need AI, use AI. Don't focus on the technology. Technology may come as a help right now. Focus on the problem. What is the problems that you want to solve?
Hi, welcome to another episode of AI Business Transformation. I'm Michael Coppola, and today I'm really excited to be here with Filippo Brunelleschi, CEO and co-founder of Mettis AI. Hi, Filippo, and welcome back.
Hi, Michael. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Thanks, Filippo. I want to jump straight into it, and if you give a quick introduction on what you are doing at Mettis AI and your position in the company.
Sure. I'm the Filippo Brunelleschi, CEO and co-founder of Mettis AI. We make driver certification 100% objective. So we use computer vision AI to analyze how people actually drive. So both inside and outside of the vehicle, and turn all the information into structure and reliable data that is 100% objective, obviously. We started with driving school as go-to-market, but we quickly realized that the vision and the mission was much bigger. So as per right now, we are building a behavioral data layer for mobility in general. And basically, what we want to do with all of these is to teach autonomous vehicles what is the human intent. So how humans drive.
Filippo, it's been a year since we have spoke, and the pace of change and technology advances is going really fast. I wanted to understand what is the changes that is happening inside of Mettis AI. How are you adopting this new technology? In the last year, there's been a huge growth in agentic AI, in coding tools like Replit, Cursor, Claude, Cowork. Are you adopting these tools, and how do you think the operational side is changing?
A lot of things have changed since last year when we first spoke. First, we closed our first round of funding, which was relevant. It was a very long process that went at length, but we finally close it with a group of investors which are the right investors that we needed to be visionary enough to understand basically what we are building. In terms of general AI and evolution of AI, obviously we made a lot of changes within what we were building 1 year ago and what we are building today. Obviously we are using a lot of agents, we are using cloud code, and we are using all sorts of resources, but we still are 100%, let's say, or 80% human based in terms of development. As a matter of fact, we value the human in the loop that we have in this whole process. What I can say is 1 year ago we had one patent which was focused on the actual business model of making driving certification objective, and now we are going much deeper into AGI and a very complicated infrastructure that I cannot speak too much about it because it's part of our second patent that we are filing these days, but it's also a very interesting project that we have been working on to basically use a mix of VLM and our core predictability engine to fuse these two technology and to give us this very comprehensive tool that we are building for autonomous vehicles to interpret human intent and have this window of predictability of 30 seconds within the future to understand what may happen.
Can you go a bit more in depth of what you are building at the moment? I understand you maybe cannot tell us everything, but is really interesting to understand also for the audience a bit the use case that you are working on.
Yep. Use case is still the same. So we want to teach autonomous vehicle how humans drive. This has been highlighted as one of the main issue for the expansion of autonomous drive at full scale. Imagine that Waymo right now is in 4 cities, planning to expand in more than 20 cities, but it's still very limited. There are tons of papers, university papers, McKinsey studies that indicates that it's going to be a long road. Even if we project it to 2035, autonomous cars will eventually represent between 15 and 30% of the fleet within some selected cities, so not globally, which means that even 10 years from now, 30% of the fleet, which is going to be ideally autonomous, is going to interact with 70% of driven cars. And so for all of these, what we saw that was necessary and what we started working on was causal world modeling for like situational foresight, which means that basically we are using all our granular data that we gather from the different use cases. We have built a multimodal RAG for context retrieval. We built a causal inference model where we have causal reasoning like within a sort of dynamic engine that generates causal logistics and prediction. All of these is embedded into a causal inference model. We infer situational description and context, and then we gather also information from our live data into a simulation and reinforced learning to once again feed this information into the causal inference model. And with all this architecture that we built in-house, we fuse it with a third-party VLM that is basically enabling us to bring the solution at scale for real-life interpretation of human intent events. So it's quite complex, but the aim is still the same. So we need to teach to autonomous vehicles how humans thrive.
So you have also introduced basically this secondary kind of business model from your main, correct? That is also selling to basically autonomous vehicle to sell this predictive model, correct?
Yeah, so the ultimate goal was always that one. So we need to create that bridge because there are already protocols of communication, the V2V between vehicles, V2I with infrastructure, but there is none between a vehicle and the human organic brain. And this has always been our primary challenge. And we said, okay, how can we gather all these different information, granular information, knowing how a young student in a driving school drives in the south of Spain, or a truck driver drives in Norway, or a insurance customer drives in London, and so on. So it's not just geography, it's also weather condition, it's also tier 1 cities, tier 2, tier 3, smaller cities, smaller environment, rural. And we have all this granular information that basically is feeding into a huge database for human intent, and that was the ultimate goal. So each and every vertical is per se a business model, but ultimately the ultimate goal is, once we have gathered all this volume of data, is to generate this predictability engine for autonomous cars.
Really exciting, and congratulations also for your round. How long did it take you to raise this round? You have mentioned there's been a long process.
It has been a long process, especially because being based in Spain, and we went through, as often happens in Southern Europe, into the periods of summer, especially in August, where absolutely everything stopped. So we lost a month in the middle of the actual closing of the round between July and in August, and then basically it slipped to September, and then a few paperworks more. So we ended up closing actually the round and doing the whole paperwork in November.
What is one of the biggest challenges of building a business in 2026?
Well, there are tons of challenges, especially when AI is brought down to traditional businesses, as we are seeing, for example, with truck drivers, with insurance company, with driving schools. There is a lot of misconception, skepticism. So the challenges are plenty. So it's operational. It's to get through this understanding of how technology really and truly works within these traditional environments, and being sort of propedeutic and explaining this technology to all the different levels of the business that we are encountering. Now we have been accepted in the AFA, which is the European Driving School Association. So it's a big achievement for us because obviously we are being recognized as a powerful and helpful tool for all the actors that are involved in these business areas. It's still a lot of, it's not an easy road. It's a lot of teaching and explaining, and yeah, it's not easy. So not easy. The action, yeah.
The adoption is one of the main challenges. Teaching as well how to basically changing the behavior of the user to understand the potential of the technology is a big challenge, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And what other challenges you may be facing into adopting AI? There is other challenges that you have seen in the business, or as well, what challenges that maybe AI is solving challenges within the business that you have seen that now, respect to years ago, now you can solve it much easier. So if you can tell us.
We are in the middle of a very execution focused phase. So now is bringing this whole technology down to the customers, and the vast majority of debugging that we are doing these days is truly debugging. So it's very executional, very based, and very pragmatic to solve real use cases that we didn't foresee or were slightly different from expected. We also had a little hiccup with the supply chain. We have our own hardware that we developed with a partner in China, and by the end of November they told us that the supply, the first batch of material would have come by the end of March. They created a sort of panic moment. We had to fly straight to Shenzhen and fix the situation. So this is very anecdotal and startup like beginning and hiccups, so it's very natural. At least for me, I'm pretty used to these early phases of a startup. But yeah, we have seen a number of little different operational and executional hiccups and challenges rather than the actual AI itself. The logic is improving, accuracy is improving by the day. It's impressive how much we are progressing in all those senses. What is bringing us down to earth is the actual tactics of little steps by steps in the customer, vehicle by vehicle. So it's very much humbling because obviously we recognize we have a very powerful technology, but until you bring it down to the single use, then you don't have a practical solution.
And one thing we are really interested with our series AI business transformation is understanding how AI is evolving also the operational side of the business. You mentioned some way of improving into the development side. There is also other part of the business that has been impacted, decision making also from your CEO perspective. Are you using some new tools that allow you to run your business differently? I want to understand more in depth of the day-to-day operational of the businesses. What are the tools you may be using that are they are transforming the way to communicate through the team, or have you seen some big changes that you maybe foreseen that AI will change the way we run startup?
Well, the more we evolve in that sense, the more we recognize that there is a lot of efficiency that we can pull out from every single one of us. LLMs are just a first step in the process. They are not the AGI graal we are aspiring to. But as per right now, obviously they can help and support in what we are building. One important thing is obviously making sure that the efficiency is gained before the actual natural progression of a traditional company. So even startup, when we are used to bootstrap and be hyper efficient, now with this level of support from AI that we already have, we realized that we can become even more and a lot more efficient. So the team, we are already 15 people right now. 80% of it is totally focused on R&D. So we are very much an R&D company right now. And what we can see is that from the engineers themselves, we can pull out a lot more efficiency every single month that we see that technology also progresses. Technology of support, obviously. Right now is a technology that mostly supports.
We are entering an era of hyper automation where anyone can build a software on a weekend. Where do you think is the real value generated at the moment?
Well, I was just yesterday in a very interesting lecture at the University of Nebrija here in Madrid, and where they kindly invited me as main speaker. And they asked a similar question. I think that we can still give the correct relevance of a business model if we focus on the problem. So, and this is so often, I mean, it was ridiculous when, and I apologize to many startups that try their best. But for example, when my recent visit at the MWC, I don't know, nowadays it seems that a bakery that has been doing baking bread for 50 years today is using the AI logo and saying that they're using ChatGPT and therefore they are a AI bakery. That is what is fueling the AI bubble and the problem of that may occur in the long term. So, and yesterday when we had this competition with startup competition, I was telling everyone to don't focus on the technology. Technology may come as a help right now. Focus on the problem. What is the problems that you want to solve? And at the end, actually, a team that proposed a solution was zero AI based was the one that actually won the startup competition. So it's very teaching, humbling, but it's also a way of maintaining feet on the ground, not to be spiraled into this hyper bubble of AI because you must use AI, because that is obviously it's a bubble and it won't live long at the end of the day. I've heard of all sorts of things. AI-based consulting company using or helping company on how to use AI. It's levels of redundancy is obviously letting you understand how much
Filippo,
we are building.
what let you think that we are in a bubble? What are the key indicators that you're saying, okay, we are in a bubble?
Well, as I was saying before, and I was joking with the rest of my team when I was at the MWC, I think that was, if you would have the name of your startup to use AI end-to-end, and a few other keywords, particularly you are covering 99% of the names of that fair. That is going to be short-lived because the market itself and then the investors or the investor before and then the markets will show that this is just a bubble. So if you stay away from there and the focus should be on a natural business. If the natural business require or the problem that you identified requires AI to solve that problem, well, and use AI and go deep tech and do whatever you need to do with AI. But if the problem can be solved in a much leaner and more simple way, why don't you want to go that way? Why do you need to force AI into it? That is a bubble. Literally.
Do you think there is going to be a correction?
Well, at some point, as it did happen for mobility investors and market, we realized that a lot of AI is just same business as usual, but AI, and then because of that, I have asked you for 10 times higher valuation, and these things obviously with this bubble will burst.
So we will see a period where we will be a correction, investor.
There will be a correction that is mostly going to be driven by market, but also by investments and valuations.
And what happened when the bubble burst? What do you think?
Well, there are tons of different scenarios. I think that the few companies that will have a sustainable business and reason to be and to still be around to use that given technology, then will survive and will thrive because we'll probably concentrate a lot of all these investments that are happening. But all of these cases, obviously, a scale, I'm speaking about like small to mid-size startups. Obviously, a big AI startups, companies, I don't want to call them startups, but the big AI companies will need still tons of investment. And that is definitely not a bubble. That is investment, is building. It's like 1906 Ford building the first production line. So we are building the production line, or companies like OpenAI and Anthropic are building the fundamental of what is going to happen. So at the moment, obviously, they are burning a lot of cash, but there is going to be a positive moment also for these giants.
Filippo, I'm a bit concerned about the centralization of power of AI as is really centralizing, is a really strong centralized technology in the hands of, few technology or this big giant company. As we have seen, cloud, they just released, they have a huge set of feature. They are basically attacking also the software layer, and ChatGPT are doing the same. There is going to be space for other smaller company, or are they going to eat a lot of the value? Because this is what I'm seeing across different sector. What do you think?
I think a bit of both. So these big companies, for sure, they will absorb other smaller companies, which for sure obviously are out there and are generating value and probably very cool technology to be absorbed into these big companies. Markets like the US and China obviously are fomenting all of these kind of R&D and research environment in general for even smaller company to pop up and thrive. So I'm not too concerned about the monopoly. I don't think that is going to be a monopoly in the short term. There may be a regional sort of monopoly because right now US and China, they have all the firepower and Europe has basically none. Sadly about this, on January 1st we also set up our Mettis AI Inc. Company established in New Delaware as a C Corp, because the next round is going to be done from that entity in the US. And once again, I mean, it's driven by the market itself. Obviously, there is a huge market for logistics and insurance in the US, but also, and equally important, I don't want to say more importantly, equally importantly, evaluation that a vision of a valuable and truly adding company is able to achieve in the US is nothing to be seen in Europe. And we are a bit in this battle because, I mean, we are also working with a very large Chinese player in the VLM world and with other VLMs and suppliers and potential partner, but they're all from either China or the US. So right now, sadly enough, once again, we'd like to stay European, but our future is dictated by these macro regional innovation centers. So we will either be more inclined to the US or more inclined to China.
And are you worried about unemployment? Today, Meta has announced 15,000 layoff, 15,000 from Meta today. Does that concern you?
It's definitely going to create a social and generational huge issue globally, or not only Europe, but absolutely everywhere, especially with robotics coming into place, when robots will be reliable at scale, fully governed by AI or AGI, that is going to be a pivoting moment for society, for the history of humankind, and obviously a lot of things will have to change. There are a lot of speeches around there speaking about a worldwide sort of social income, because otherwise, what are humans bound to finally do if there is nothing that they can do better than a machine? And we are speaking about art, we are speaking about movies, cinema, music. So nothing is going to be spared by the innovation that is coming with AI. So it's a mid-term, I would say, concern. It's not a short term. I think will still take a few years, but it's definitely going in that direction. Then the anecdote of Meta, 15,000. I don't know globally how many employees does Meta have, but I've also read the information from Amazon a few days ago was laying off 15,000 or 20,000. I mean, I don't want to say this is normal, but within a company that has globally over 1 million of employees, it's almost marginal.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's going to be a mid-short-term period of change where we have to adapt, change the business model, change society how it works, and then we can fulfill all the big potential of this transformation that AI is bringing to society. And one interesting thought is understanding how we need to change as a structure, both for businesses and society, where this change has to come. Where do you think we need to change?
I don't think that it's in our hands to being able to steer this boat. We need to probably, and this is why I'm working night and day at Mettis AI right now, because I don't know if there is going to be much else that we will be able to do in our generation within the next 10-year span. I think within 10 years, the AI, AGI pose already a existential threat to the normal business as usual of absolutely everyone worldwide, and not only referring to the Western world or civilized world, but this is going to affect absolutely everyone. There are trends that are saying, instead of learning how to code, nowadays you should better learn how to be a plumber. I don't know, probably a robot in 5 years' time. And there was, probably you've seen it, but it's a very long podcast from Elon Musk, from a few days ago, 3 hours long, very intense, but I put it in the background, just listening to it. And also the CEO of NVIDIA repeating basically the same thing. If you're studying medicine right now, just drop it. So it's that there are so many careers and everything that humankind have built over centuries that are going to be taken over and done much better by machine in a very short period of time. I mean, AGI and a robot at home obviously can take care of absolutely everything that happened within the household, but also being your personal medic at no extra cost. Probably they will charge you for a medical extra application that you need to download if you want to have that kind of service. But end of the day, the machine themselves, they will be able to do a much better job, much cheaper for everyone at a much larger scale. So really nothing is going to be spared. It's yet to see how long this will take, but I think that within 10 years we'll see massive changes.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see this happening and how they call it singularity, right? We are in the singularity, that moment where, AI is smarter than human and everything change around it. And we definitely can see the changes that are happening around us. So it's going to be an exciting journey to see what is going to change. A quick fire round to finish, Filippo. What is your most used AI tool right now?
Our own, we have a architecture that is similar to YOLO, but we have developed in-house, and our own AI. I mean, being mostly focused on AI deep tech, we are using our own tools. We developed our own LLM to be used internally, but also the application of our customers that we called Neural. So we have our own LLM as well. So there is, obviously I have a Claude agents and with a Mac Mini and all these things, but for most part we are using our own internal services.
Are you using OpenClaw?
Yeah.
Did you install it? Yeah. How are you using it?
Well, right now we are doing a lot of experiments with it. Obviously, we are running a lot of the tasks rather than obviously the logic itself or the strategy. We are tasks based with this kind of solution, and then we are doing a few experiments with cryptocurrency and this kind of
exciting. Did you see the NVIDIA just released Nemo Claude, his version?
Yeah, so obviously once someone creates a sort of benchmark, then we are going to see it repeated and interpreted in different ways by the usual different actors until someone is going to come up with something even better. So it's a usual pattern.
What is the most overhyped trend in AI today?
LLMs in general, considering that LLM, and once again, referring to the lecture where I was yesterday at the university, universities are seeing a huge cognitive reduction, relevant cognitive reduction from the students in terms of ability to process information, which is the wrong one, because an LLM should not affect should support your ability to think and power it through, but a lot of people is using it to switch off their mind and use an external LLM, which is not an AGI, which is not the right tool for it, to externalize their.
One piece of advice for anyone starting an AI company today:
don't start an AI company, start a company, and then if you need AI, use AI, but start a company, focus on a problem, try to solve that problem. If that problem needs an AI solution, then use AI. If it doesn't, don't force it in.
Filippo, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you again. And we will keep in touch again, as we want to see where the singularity is taking us in the next 5 years. So we will keep in touch to see the progress both of Mettis and society as well as we explore this change.
Fantastic. Many thanks, Michael. As always, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks. Thank you.